Hey, friends. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Feeling Saucy with DeAndre and Tymone. What's up, brother?
How you doing today?
Dude, I'm doing okay.
I'm
How are you doing?
doing good. Happy to be here with you, and
Yeah,
be here with friends tuning in with us too. We're all here together, so
yeah. Dude, we are at episode 3. This is awesome.
it is. It is.
It's like, wow, we're 3 episodes in, and I'm still feeling saucy. I don't know about you.
Hey, it's in our name. We're always gonna be feeling saucy when we're
That's
here.
right. That's right. So how's your week been, brother? Just a couple highs and lows. What's the week been like for you from last week to this week? Any good things, any bad
um,
things, in betweens?
yeah, I'd say a little tiring. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, struggling just a little bit, but still pushing forward, keeping my head up. I think I'm just such a busy schedule. It's starting to hit me a little bit hard, kind of getting a little bit tired and feeling it health wise, getting a
Mhm.
little sick and stuff like that. But in times like that, I'm kind of just remind myself to really just take time for DeAndre because
Mhm.
life's always going to be busy, but if you're not treating yourself right
Mhm.
and not really giving time to yourself,
Mhm.
then it's ultimately going to pay an impact with mindset and thought process and everything. And I want to still be able to control my thoughts when
Mhm.
I'm going through struggle weeks and stuff like that. We're all
Mhm.
humans. We're going to have our weeks. So I decided that DeAndre is going to be taking some time to himself
Mhm.
and just really processing and just enjoying DeAndre for DeAndre,
Yeah.
and not really worrying about any responsibilities for a day or two. And
Mhm.
that way, on Wednesday I can get back up and start
Yeah.
driving forward again.
That's right.
But, you know, my time's been really good. Enjoying my downtime, and it's really I've already kind of really been able to see a difference
Mhm.
from just taking time for myself and everything. And I think I do forget to do that at times.
Mhm.
Um, some people
Yeah.
can go and go and go. I'm just
Mhm.
one of those people where it does hit a point to where I can't. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not that I can't, but it starts not. I don't provide the quality that I want to provide that I know I'm able to, and
Yeah.
I don't want that to jeopardize something else or this and that. So, um,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's real.
it's been a struggle week, but it's really been a healing week at the same time.
Okay.
What
Yeah.
about you, my brother?
Well, I'll say for me, it's been a little bit of a mixture of busyness. Like, I feel like every single day this week, I've just been go, 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 go.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really have a day at home, like that one day a week at home that I like to have. I didn't get that this week. Um, so, I mean, I'm feeling the impact of that a little bit. I feel a little bit restless, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit worried about how this upcoming week is going to be. So I'm going to try to implement, days after work where I just go home and either do the practice of do nothing or do the practice of just being intentional about going home and
Yeah.
not allowing anyone or anything to fill my schedule after the workday is done. That way I can somewhat make up for that full day that I didn't get this week. Um, but I'm doing okay, highs and lows. I'd say my high right now, honestly, just being here with you, and doing episode 3. This is a real high. Also, this weekend, I was spending time with some friends and family, and it's just always refreshing to get cousin time in. So
Mm-hmm.
I got a little bit of that this weekend with a few of my cousins, and I'm really grateful for that. And this week, even though it was long, I did reach my goal this week. I have a to-do list for work, and at the end of the week on Saturday, I was able to check off everything on that list. So I was really grateful for that.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you so much.
And
Yeah.
that's another high right there. It's two highs right there.
Hey, that's 2 highs right there. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm grateful for that. I'm really grateful. So, besides that, I kind of feel the the season of change right now here in Portland. The clock was it? Did it go back an hour or up an hour?
Went back an hour.
Okay, so the clock went back an hour. So now it's dark at 5 p.m. And I'm like, no. Oh God. Like,
That time of year.
I need the light. I need the sun. So this is the season for vitamin D and vitamin B and vitamin C and all the vitamins that we need to give us the strength that the sun naturally gives to us. So I need to go buy some vitamins because emotionally, I am like, oh, this is how I feel. If was a person, like that's how I feel. Especially like after work and like it's just dark. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I feel like that's where a lot of these sit downs you and I have each week are really gonna play a big role and kind of really help
Absolutely.
motivate and push us forward.
Yeah.
It is that time of the season where it's darker, so it's a little bit more gloomy than what it already is in Portland with all the rain and everything.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be a season of challenging moving forward, but a lot of strength building too. Is how I kind of like to look at these.
Yeah.
Because you're pushing your emotions to the limit, and it's like, okay, now how can I push past that barrier?
Yep.
Take control. Like I said, we're all human. We all have our moments, but this is where it comes together to move in together, but also allowing yourself to
feel the feeling
back and really soak it in and feel the feeling that you're feeling and really control and guide that. So like you've had two big highs, so why not? Take some time to yourself. You deserve it. You got two big wins. You're here doing episode 3.
Episode 3.
You achieved your accomplishments at work. Time on deserves time on.
That's right.
There's nothing wrong with time to yourself. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Absolutely. Nothing at all.
Really just when you only have time to yourself and you forget everything else that you have to do. That's where it can say, nothing wrong with taking a day or two out of the week, evening, out of the week, make no plans and just spend time with yourself. So, you deserve it.
Exactly. You got to prioritize that time and plan that time. Because I'm really, I make a lot of plans, and sometimes I forget to make plans for myself. I got to put me on the calendar too, just like I put everyone else and everything else. Got to put Ty on the calendar, and block out that time for Ty, because that is the practice of having a healthy mindset and a healthy lifestyle. It's feeding yourself.
You can only feed so much to everybody else before you got to give back to yourself.
That's right.
If you're not filling up your own cup, you're just gonna be running on E the whole time. And at that point, you're not giving enough of you. That maybe people need from time off.
Yeah. Most definitely. Well, I think the conversation today is leading into episode 3, part 2 of roots. So last week we talked about our roots, and you led with your roots and where you came from to where you are now, and to kind of where you're heading, right?
Yep.
We touched. Okay, cool. So I guess this week is me. I get to talk. So I don't know. Is there any particular question you want to start with, or should I just jump right in?
Not really, honestly.
Okay.
Just really kind of just figuring out, like, so I know when we were talking last week,
yes,
kind of started with how life began and how it was a young age, kind of where my mindset was during trouble. So,
just pick back up right there.
Just kind of how I started, where you're sitting at, mentioning kind of, a little bit of the struggles and kind of how you're working through, because, it's about overcoming and growing, but people also need to know where we kind of come from.
Exactly.
How far of a journey we have gotten to this point. Also the journey of where we're going forward. So really just letting our friends know
Yeah.
Who are you? How'd you go from Ty to Timon?
Ooh, that's a good one. I like that. Okay. So
Yeah,
ever since 1996,
let's
a
get this going.
star was born in September 25th. Yes, I was born, as I said, September 25th, 1996, 28 years old, born and raised in Portland. Um, I grew up with, had teen parents. So my mom and dad were teens when they had me. And so primarily of growing up as a kid, I had my mom's mom. She was kind of like that main um, parental figure in a sense. Like
Mm-hmm.
my mom was there, she was present, but her mom was also very present too. And so I kind of had a sense of like two moms. I had grandma, who I knew was grandma, but she was also a motherly figure in my life as well. She
Mm-hmm.
taught me about God, taught me, a lot of things that would in regards to like discipline. Like she was very much so a disciplined teacher. She made sure you understood, rules and discipline and values and things like that. Have morals, make sure you open doors for ladies and you know things like that. How to
Yeah.
clean, her and my mom both taught me how to cook. My mom was when I lived, because I lived with my grandmother for a period of time as well.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 8 years old, I told my mom I wanted to live with my grandmother, um, and so I moved in with my grandma primarily because as a kid I was a church kid. I loved God, still do, but I loved the church community, and that was something that just wasn't just in me. I just
Yeah.
couldn't change that version of me. Like I had to be a part of the community. And my mom, for a while, she, had decided she didn't want to be a part of the community anymore. So I knew living with my grandma would go to church on Sundays. So I lived with her, and that was something that I did from 8 to 16. And then 16, my mom decided that she wants to move to Vegas. And so she's like, taking all my kids with me. We packed up that van and that U-Haul, and we drove to Vegas and started a whole new life together as a family. So
Where'd you move from?
from Portland,
From Portland to Vegas.
Northeast Portland, yeah, right off of Fremont, MLK, where my neighborhood was.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of spent 8 years of my life in that area. I went to King, I went to De La Salle, to Jeff. Um, I went to POIC, graduated there from Rosemary Anderson High School. Um, and so, yeah, that's kind of where the start was. But, moving to Vegas, I learned, a little bit more from my mom because I was with her more.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like us kind of picking back up, like doing life together. She was the main parent in my life from 16 to say about 19 when I moved out.
Mm-hmm.
And I moved in with a friend and his mom, and that's kind of where the start of Timon began, where I started my life um, as a man. I, once I moved out, I was like, all right, I'm out of here. And I had reasons for moving out, but we won't get all the way into all of that. But I'd say for me, like the roots growing up, I knew that throughout my middle school years, I knew that writing was something that I enjoyed doing. I realized that my gift lived in writing. So I would write poems, I would write prayers, um, I would just write stuff that I really wanted. When I was sad, I would write. And I would write my sadness down. And when I was happy, I would write. Or I remember I wrote a Dear God letter as a
Mm-hmm.
kid. So funny thinking back. I was like, Dear God, I want an iPhone. I wanted like an iPhone. I wanted just all these little things, things that, you know, I couldn't buy myself. And, at the time I didn't realize it, but we were not wealthy, we didn't have all the things that, middle class families do have.
Mm-hmm.
We struggled sometimes and we had to, you know, eat certain things because that's all we had, or, we just had to, we struggled.
Yeah.
My grandmother, there were times she had a job and she didn't have a job. And so we didn't always have, steak for dinner, or, chicken sometimes. Sometimes we had to do chili and spaghetti,
There
and
you
those are
go.
some humbling moments because, I just learned that, life is not always what we hope it to be, but we can always make it what we want it to be. And so I learned that as a young age, like those are the things that I I wish that I didn't have. So I had to learn how to grow up and create a life where I don't have to live like that. And I'm still on that journey. But yeah, as a kid, I'd say, you know, it was a lot of learning, and a lot of my learning was through writing. I wrote a lot of things down. Like I said, I wrote, I wanted an iPhone, and I look at my life today, and I'm like, oh, I have that. A lot of the things that I wrote down in those journals, I can look back and say, oh, wow, I have that, or wow, these things did happen, or wow, like, things that I saw in my head that I wanted for myself, I saw or I see now.
Hmm.
And that is something that was birthed that still lives on to this day. I write everything down as far as like a budget, as far as, just my dreams, my passions, creativity, quotes that I love. I have a book that I've written that I'm currently working through and trying to figure out how I want to edit it and things like that because I do want to publish that. We talked about that a
Yeah.
little bit on the first episode. And so that's something that I'm kind of picking back up on again because it's my dream. And I want all my dreams to come true. So I have to do the work. But yeah, so as a kid, like I learned growing up, that, you know, life isn't easy. I learned from watching my mom, my dad, my uncles and aunts, grandparents. I watched their lives. I was always a watcher. I always would look back. I would always sit back and I would just look.
Hmm.
And I also am the oldest. I'm the oldest child. I'm the oldest boy grandchild. Um, so I always felt like there was a lot of responsibility on me too, and a lot of the responsibility was to be this picture perfect leader, if that makes sense.
What made you feel like you had to be like a picture perfect leader?
Because in my mind, I looked at a leader as someone that is always there, showing up, financially stable,
Hmm.
able to take care of things, like the one that everyone looks up to, the one that everyone comes to.
Yeah.
And so I always try to fit that image. Um, and I had to learn that that's not necessarily reality for everybody. Some people are blessed to be able to be that type of person. Some people maybe just have a different path.
What do you think made you kind of come to that realization, or like how long were you like in
Figuring that
that
out.
period of your life
I
trying to
was in that
figure it
period of
out?
my life up until I'd say this year. This year, I learned to just show up as myself, um, and not show up as a person that's trying to fulfill a role in a sense.
Is there anything specific that made you switch, like that train of thought or mindset? Because
I think for me, I hit a moment where I just was out of touch with myself.
hmm.
And when I was out of touch with myself, I was trying to go deeper into the spaces of why am I out of touch with myself? What's the why behind this? What is it that is happening around me or to me that's making me feel out of touch with myself?
Hmm.
And I think a lot of that came into realization where I realized that like I wasn't as present and I wasn't showing up authentically as Timo. I was trying to be the grandson that my grandparents could be proud of every time. So when I wasn't feeling like, oh, like life is going good and I have all these things going on and yay, I'm working on this and I've got this going on and that going on. If I didn't feel like I had that to talk about, then I wasn't fulfilling that role of like, oh, we're so proud of you, or we, you're exactly what we want you to be. I always felt like I had to show up and kind of make people, I don't know, like trying to process my words right now and like get it out to where it fully makes sense. Are you following me?
Oh yeah, no, I'm good.
You follow me?
I'm,
Okay.
I'm
I felt
listening.
like I
Yeah.
had to like just show up as this like this person, like, and I think I don't know why I felt that way. I don't know why I felt that way. I felt that way for a long time. I felt like when my church community, I felt like I had to show up and be a part of this. Okay, things are good. God is good. Like life is good. And even when things weren't good, still look at the brighter side of things and not just sit in the mess of things.
Yeah.
I felt like if I show up and life's not good today, and I'm just gonna just sit in that, I didn't give myself permission to just be okay. Ooh, I'm gonna turn the light onto that because that right there was powerful. I struggled with that for so long. I struggled with that. I always felt like when I walked into the room, I had to match the energy of the room. When I came around certain people, I had to match that energy or that image that was in my head that I needed to show up as or be. I didn't allow myself to just be. And so when I felt out of touch with myself and I started to really dig deep into why do I feel out of touch, it's because of that.
See, and you just solved it as we were speaking. You went from I don't know why I felt that way, and now you said exactly why you felt that way. It's because you felt like you had to fit a specific role,
Yeah,
and that wasn't authentic
it wasn't authentic
to who you are.
to who I am.
And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, and it's
Mm,
not a consistent thing to do.
mm-hmm,
Because as you try and fill roles that you think people should persuade you as,
mm-hmm,
when you're not true to yourself, you don't stay that. You'll start being that in that role, but it doesn't stay in that role.
yeah,
And that's where people who don't appreciate, they appreciate you because you're trying to fit to how they want you to be versus
mm-hmm,
appreciating you for who you truly are.
mm-hmm,
And in the long run, it's just not ideal because it does take
mm-hmm,
big emotional impact.
mm-hmm. Yeah, doing life and personal developing and growing, it's dying to yourself every day or dying to an image of yourself that you believe every day and living and being reborn
Mm-hmm.
into who you are every day and then creating the life that you want
Yeah.
every day. It's every day. It's every single day. And when I was in those weak spaces, there was some things that happened in my life that I'm not going to talk about right now. Later on. But there were some things that happened that kind of pushed me there. And that's where I finally allowed myself, because I was self sabotaging for a while. I was like, oh my God, like this happened. I can't believe I did this to me. I can't believe these things happen. I can't believe I lost this friend, or I can't believe that this job didn't work out. All these things. And I was self sabotaging.
Mm-hmm.
And so after so much of that, it put me on a spiral where I was dealing with anxiety and depression and all the things. And like in those spaces, that's where I kind of felt out of touch with myself. But then after I chose, and with the help of friends and talking things through and um, just people pouring into me, reminding me who I am and loving on me, I was able to get out of those spaces and come back to reality. And in those spaces, I started to realize, like I said, the self sabotaging, it led me into that place of why. Why do I feel this way? And it's because of the things that I had done. And by doing those things, it showed me, okay, this is not who I am. This is how I'm presenting myself. So now let's switch that. Let's be time on everywhere, every day. Let's be time on every day.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be time on everywhere. And that changed my life. Because now I'm showing up just simply as I am. And it's helping me heal every day. That little kid who had this image that he wanted to pursue, you
Hmm.
know? And it's so crazy because, like you said, like so many people struggle with this and they don't even realize it. They don't even realize it. But it's a real thing. And I've seen it in my family, you know? I've seen
Hmm.
people put on these images and walk into certain spaces and, you know, it's like a new face. And it's so easy to do. It's so easy to do. And it's so easy to not call out the truth
Yeah.
and speak those truths or even just confess those truths because we're afraid of shame and we're afraid of judgment and we're afraid of what the thoughts of others have to say. But being that I'm now in this space, it's a blessing to sit and talk about it. And that's a part of the growth in my roots from childhood to here today. Like that's a part of the journey, and the journey continues. But yeah, as a kid, I loved to write, and writing really helped me throughout many different seasons of my life. Um, I'd say I started working when I was 18, and so I learned people skills.
Hmm.
I learned how to work with people. I learned how to work and under pressure and under stress, and so that created the lovable personality that I
Hmm.
have today. I think I always was a people person. I think as a kid, even in school, like people, I was the fun kid. Like I knew how to make people laugh
Hmm.
because I used to get bullied. So when I would get bullied, I knew that if I made people laugh, then I wasn't getting bullied. So then I started to just be a funny character. And so that kind of became a part of who I am. Like I love to make people laugh. I love to bring up the energy, but also I've saved myself from dealing with serious issues
Hmm.
just through joking. Like instead of talking about the real stuff, let's ease into it and joke and laugh, so it doesn't feel the weight of it,
Yeah.
And so I've learned how to learn how to understand that that's a power,
Hmm.
um, but I've also learned how to turn it on and off.
I
Um,
think
uh
that's
oh.
important right there. I feel like
Yeah.
so. I'm gonna kind of ask you. So, let me figure out how this.
Ooh.
Have you ever thought about maybe doing things like that? Maybe sabotage for who you are. So like,
Ooh. Explain more.
for example, um, you mentioned that you go about it jokingly. So in my experience, I just feel like sometimes it is nice, to start the conversation going and stuff like that. But what I've learned from my experience is a lot of the times kind of addressing it and laying it out there has
Mm-hmm.
sometimes been a little bit more healing. It may be a little bit more tougher
Yeah.
because you are just putting your emotions and your vulnerability out there
Mm-hmm.
right there on the spot. But sometimes that's where you get more weight lifted off.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever thought about maybe the jokingly has kind of allowed you not to address things that you feel like you should have addressed in a specific way?
Absolutely. With certain individuals,
Mm-hmm.
um, for a boss, for instance, if I feel like I don't like how my boss makes me feel,
Mm-hmm.
I've in the past I've seen myself do this. I would address my boss in a way where I'm joking about it
Yeah.
instead of making it be known that these are the things that I don't really like or that make me feel uncomfortable or make me feel, you know, like
Well,
I'm not growing or progressing because I need you to teach me X, Y, and Z, but instead I feel like I'm being skipped or overlooked, you know? But I would find a way to joke it
mm-hmm.
so it's easy to deliver.
How do you think they would take it, or your experience?
My experience, I don't think it was. I don't think the message was delivered.
Hmm.
You know, because I've always been a little bit of a hoot. I'm a fun guy. I'm a character. Like I enjoy, being silly and having fun and making
Hmm.
people laugh. So I think that it was just portrayed as like, oh, like, he's just being silly,
Yeah.
and not actually being serious. And so then when I was more direct and I was more like, hey, like, this is what I know, this is what I need to know,
Hmm.
and this is what I need you to show me so I can know these things and I can grow and I can, take my career to the next level. Then that's when those the perspective changed,
Yeah.
and also just the outcome changed.
How do you get yourself to a point where you were able to go from joking to actually kind of being straightforward in the appropriate circumstances?
Mm, disappointment,
Hmm.
being disappointed with where I was or the outcome of where it was like I'm looking for what I was doing wasn't working.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. I was disappointed that it didn't work. So now I'm like, okay, now that this doesn't work, I need to find another way to make what I'm looking for happen. How can I make this happen?
What was the journey of that look like?
Um, reflection,
Reflection.
reflection, looking back and saying, okay, like, what am I doing wrong here?
Hmm.
What am I doing wrong? Because I could point the finger and say they just don't, invest in me, or they just overlook me, or they're not teaching me, or this and that, all the things that they. But then I had to like take a look and say, okay, Ty, how are you taking charge of this moment?
How long did it take you to kind of go through that process to
It
really
took me 6 months
fix
at
it?
that job. It took me 6 months because I was also like, I was just one of those that I was like, I'm just so happy to have this job.
Yeah.
And I just want to do everything right. And I don't want to screw nothing up. And I don't want no one to like feel like anything. Like I want them to feel good when they see me. I want them to always be nodding their head and smiling and just proud of my hard work.
Sometimes it could hurt you.
Hmm.
It can hurt you quite a bit
Yeah,
because at that point you're putting everybody else before yourself.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And I've seen myself, I became that at home as a
Hmm.
kid. Like I would, try to make sure that, especially living with my grandmother, she was a very strict parent, very strict. So like as a kid, I didn't get to play outside, like I didn't get to have sleepover. I didn't have my first sleepover until I was 18 years old. Yeah, I didn't. I, my grandmother was just like, "Oh, you're not going over to people's houses. I don't know these people," and she didn't also take the steps to get to know these people and find out if they're good people or not. It just was
Hmm.
always an automatic no. And so I was always let down because as a child, I feel like my childhood was a little bit taken from me
Hmm.
because I didn't get to really fully have the kid experience. The only time I really got to have a full kid experience was when I went to school or when I went to church and I had opportunities to do, children church or
Yeah.
kid activities in the church. Um, so that was like the sense of community for me as a kid. I didn't really get a lot of, you know, kid stuff,
Yeah.
playing in the neighborhood, running around the blocks, like I was always monitored and watched, which
It's good to a point,
is good to a point, yes.
especially being a kid.
Yes, but I feel like as a young male and kid, you gotta give you gotta give your kids freedom to find themselves, to
Hmm.
explore, to engage with other people and other uh, their peers.
Hmm.
And so I didn't really have a lot of that. Everything was so monitored for me. Like I say this all the time. My childhood was school, church, and home. That was it. I remember I had friends that would come to my window like, "Hey, can you come outside?" I can't come outside. It was automatic no. So
I feel like experiences like that, being able to experience it and learning from getting hurt outside or
Mhm.
hanging out with people, that's really important too as a kid. Because
Mhm.
as a kid, you're kind of being morphed into the start of your adulthood
Yeah. Yeah.
and lessons that you learn as a kid. That's why
Yeah.
I think protecting kids, it is. That's why I was saying it is good to be overwatching, but not overbearing
Mhm.
to where you're keeping them from keeping your kids from. I mean, I don't have any kids personally. I mean,
Right.
my girlfriend has a son and everything,
Yeah.
but it's those are really key important.
Key importance. Yeah, absolutely. Um, and so that's why, like, I learned at home, like, if I did things a certain way, my grandmother would be pleased.
Yeah.
And so, I knew that when I communicated with her, I had to always come correct. I always had to deliver whatever I was communicating a certain way.
Hmm.
I couldn't just be authentically just like, hey, this is what I'm feeling, you know, because it was always, my attitude always was checked. You got an attitude? Watch how you talk to me, watch that tone, so I was like, well, I always had to, like, you know, fit a certain role, in order to just make a request or ask for something or express my feelings or emotions. I could never just be exhausted
Yeah.
if I was exhausted, or be tired if I was tired, or be stressed if I was stressed. You know, I remember, as a kid, I was like, oh, I just feel stressed. You're a kid, you ain't stressed.
I've heard the
Like, you're a kid, you're not stressed. You ain't got no bills to pay. Like, like, what? I got all this crazy homework. I got peer pressure. This house sucks. Like, all these different things, And it wasn't always bad at home. It wasn't. But, there's sometimes it was,
hmm
and it was stressful,
This was all with your grandma.
A lot of it was. I mean, with my mom, there's like blurs. Because I remember, my mom just being a young mom.
Hmm.
And, I remember with my mom from like birth till age 8 before I moved in with my grandmother. She was very she was kind of like a free parent. Like, she let me do my own thing.
Hmm.
She let me play outside with my friends. She let me roll around in the dirt. To do what boys do.
Yeah.
So I had a sense of more freedom with her. I always remember like living with my mom in those younger years, before my other siblings came into the picture. We had people over, either it was her boyfriend or my uncle and his girlfriend or her friends or cousins would come by. Like, I remember there was people that would come over and hang out with us at the house often. So it was always a sense of like family, community.
Is that when you guys went to Nevada?
No, I didn't go to Nevada with my mom until I was 16.
16.
Yeah, I moved out of my grandmother's house. My mom took me back and we moved to Nevada as a family. And it was the first time ever I got to be in a home with my siblings
Hmm.
and us all together under one roof, doing life together. Um,
Do you
and
see how it maybe have it like how did it impact you going from your grandma being so isolated to having a bit more
well,
freedom? Like, what was that transition like?
it that sounds like a beautiful story, but it necessarily didn't panel out that way. When we moved to Nevada, my mom was a single parent, 5 children, so she worked
Hmm.
full time. So what that looked like for me was a lot of responsibility. Being a big brother, had to make sure the kids were, monitored, had to make sure that the house was in order. I cooked, I cleaned, I helped them with homework and things like that, laundry, stuff like that. So I had a lot of responsibility. Um, so the freedom, yeah, I had, you know, a sense of, okay, like, this is less strict
Yeah.
than being with my grandmother, but it still didn't grant me. the opportunity to go and get a job at 16, and come home with a paycheck and, buy things that I wanted to buy or be independent. I had to still be, a supervisor. And I don't regret that because it taught me discipline. It taught me consistency.
Hmm.
It taught me a lot of values that some young men don't have. Like, I've gone to friends' house and they don't know how to fold their laundry. You know, I've I know some people that just don't know how to cook, like the basic things, Like I can make a whole Thanksgiving dinner and it'll be fire. And some people just they don't know how to do those things.
Hmm.
So the values that I took out of those experiences, they are values in my life. Like my partner, my future love, they got the full package right here. They have the full package. They got a boss, they got a smart individual, a king. They got someone that can cook and clean, can hold a house down. You know, I have all those values. So like, I'm grateful for those experiences. But did I have that sense of freedom throughout the time that I was getting those experiences? Not necessarily.
Hmm.
Not necessarily. So when I turned 18, I wilded out. I was like, I'm 18, I'm grown legally, and I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And I told myself from in my 20s, I said, I'm going to do literally whatever I want to do.
Hmm.
And so I've done that. I've partied, I've traveled, I've had lots of different experiences. I became a yes man because I just wanted to just really see what life was like. I want to experience what life was like. I want to experience different cultures, different people, different religions. Like everything that I was taught, this is one way to heaven. I was like, well, I'm gonna figure it out going on these other avenues.
Yeah.
And if it's that one way, then I'll come back to it. And I just was not afraid to just take the things that I was taught and challenge them,
Hmm.
or figure out my own way, because there's so many people that want to educate you and tell you, hey, this is the way. But we all have our own DNA and we all have our own lives. And I need to know what my way is, and what works for me and what doesn't work for me. And so that
When did that start playing a role
that
into your life?
started playing a role into my life at age 20.
Age 20.
Age 20, I was in a space where I just didn't know what I was doing or where I was going,
Hmm.
but I knew who I wanted to be. I knew I knew that I wanted to be successful. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be, you know, a go-getter. I wanted to be a driven person, an accomplished person. I knew that at 20, and I think that there was a lot of things at 20 that I had already done
Hmm.
that made me that way as well. But I reached a point where I was just like, well, what next? And so that's when that kind of turned on. That's when that flip happened.
I have a question for you.
Yeah,
What is successful? What did that mean to you when you say you want to be successful?
at age 20,
Yeah, what did it mean to you then? And then,
what it means to me now.
yeah.
At 20, that meant money.
Hmm.
Cha-ching! Money. If you got some money, you successful. That's what success meant to me. Because as a kid, I didn't have it.
Yeah.
My family didn't have it, and so, but everyone that had it, it looked like there was more opportunities,
Hmm.
there was more experiences
Hmm.
that people got to have and experience and live. Like there was just this, it just looked like the good life. That's what it looks like. So at 20 for me, it was like, boy, we gotta get this money and we gotta get it quick. And what success looks like to me now, it looks like uh, it looks like a lot of different things. I don't think it's just one thing. Waking up today is a success. I look at that as a success.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the blessings that I have in my life today. I have a job, I have a roof over my head. I have, you know, I have credit, like I have friends, I have family. Um, I have a lot of accomplishments on my resume. You know, I I have a community. I have people that love me deeply and that will fight for me,
Mm-hmm.
that will stand beside me. If I'm standing for something, they'll be right there standing with me. I have people that look up to me, like that. I have people that if I was to leave this earth, that would change their world
Mm-hmm.
because of the impact that I make in their life. That to me is what success looks like today. So
Such
it's
a whole 180 of success right there, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
How many years? When did you start? When was that your new success definition of success?
25, my golden year.
So what happened between 21 and 24?
Finding myself. I was finding myself, trying to find what success was. I was chasing what I thought it was. And I kept hitting my head on the wall. I kept bumping into the wrong people, the wrong places, the wrong things, or having to restart. I would start something and I would think, okay, this is going to be what takes me to that success. And
Mm-hmm.
then it doesn't. You get fired from the job. So you got to restart. And then you get that next thing. You're like, okay, this is going to be what takes me to the success.
Do you think it was that whole journey between that age that really transitioned, or is it like one point during that period to where you just snipped it and you're like, it's time to feel saucy and I'm just going to change from here on moving forward and this is what I'm going to do? Like, what was the transition? Because you had those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
When was the moment and how did that look when you decided to put your foot down and say something needs to change?
Um, I think honestly, I had to stop chasing people and things and just recognize what I have
Mm-hmm.
and build from that.
Mm-hmm.
Like for a lot of those years, I was looking for love. I thought if I was in a relationship, then I would be happier.
Mm-hmm.
So I was, you know, I've always been, working. I've never not worked. I've always had a job. I've always had stability for myself and was able to take care of myself. So I wanted to invite someone into my life that I could share that with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember and this is just one example, but I just remember I was constantly chasing to find that person,
Mm-hmm.
constantly going on different dates. Oh my God. I went on so many dates. So many dates. I would go on like 2, 3 dates a day sometimes.
Oh, wow.
Swipe. Oh, you look kind of cute. All right, let's meet up. I went on so many dates because I was just like trying to find that person. And some of the people that came into my life, it came not, it, it didn't come the way I was chasing it, and the way I was chasing it is not how I got it. Like some of the people that came into my life that really made a huge difference found me. I just was drinking wine, feeling fine, talking to friends, and then
Mm-hmm.
someone approaches me, and then we go on a journey where there was a lot of love, and it was different because I didn't expect it to show up that way. So it's like once I stopped chasing what I thought, I guess I deserve. Well, no, what I wanted, because we all deserve love. Once I stopped chasing it, and I just allowed myself to just live my life and be happy regardless, and have faith and trust that it's going to come to me. then that's when things started to just kind of come at its own time. Like I said last week, time is never late. The right things are always on time. Always.
Hmm.
So, I'm trying to control time and make things happen for me because I want it now, but the right things always come on time. They're never late. You never miss it. So, did that answer your question?
It did. It did.
Okay.
I'm just trying to dive deeper, because
Yeah,
I
sorry.
know a lot of people, they struggle, and
Yeah,
podcast is to sit here and allow people to push forward,
yeah,
because one of our friends out there that are listening might be dealing with that, trying to figure it
absolutely.
out. So,
Absolutely.
expressing your reason, how you got past it,
Hmm.
when the transition happened, that's very important because that's a lot of people don't know what it's going to take. And I feel like
Yeah.
from just your story that you took, from what you said, it's very impactful because you went from experiencing it from not really having a whole lot of people where you can hang out with or having a childhood to end up needing to be like an adult as a child, having to be a caretaker as a child.
Mm,
And then from there, you went on and then you were trying to figure out, you started partying, trying to figure out who you were, making up for those times where you couldn't
hmm.
really hang out with friends or people invited you to come out and hang out. And you started realizing that success is literally just being true to yourself.
Hmm.
And because a lot of people have, that's why I asked you that question, what success
Hmm.
meant. Success means it's different for every single person.
It is.
But I feel like success always started out as having money.
Hmm.
Money is always the thing that everyone says success is when they first start to look at success.
Hmm.
Or even now, some people might still look at it, but being able to take back and accepting your life for where it's at and where you're going, it's when I feel like lives start to change.
Hmm.
Because I used to look at success. I used to do a lot of network marketing and stuff like that. I
Mm,
was trying to find success to me was money, but you don't realize what everyone is doing behind closed doors to earn that
hmm.
money.
Hmm.
And if that's not true to yourself, then you're not really being successful.
Hmm.
And in order to be successful, I feel like it's first step is being true to yourself.
Hmm.
So that was so much
Ooh, well said.
wisdom that you were sharing.
Yeah,
It's
well
just
said.
sharing is just the transition. I've heard the transition of you transitioning from you telling your story, and I feel like a
Hmm.
lot of people can take a lot from what they've learned
Hmm.
from your growing and just being able to sit back and just like love. That's huge. That's I wanted to flicker that light, but I was so engaged with what you were saying. I was like, no, it's a moment right now that you're
Yeah,
sharing, so I didn't want to flicker the light. But that
that's
was
okay.
that was knowledge.
Oh,
That was knowledge because the light was flickering in my head, just so you know.
yeah.
And light, that was a flickering light.
Well, I
Just
saw you
because,
kind of like smile a little bit. I was
yeah,
like, oh, okay.
because you're speaking straight wisdom, but I was like, I want to flicker the light, but I
Don't
can't.
flick the light.
It's a moment. It was a moment because
Mm,
I feel like I was a lot of people.
hmm.
A lot of people try. A lot of people want love. A lot of people want to feel like they want to feel like they're wanted.
Hmm.
But love is going to come when love is ready to come,
Yes.
and that looks different. You
Hmm.
can't force relationships. You can't force love. If you don't have love right there, if you don't have positive relationships right there, it's just not the timing for you.
Hmm.
But it's the moment where you start forcing love and start making it feel like you deserve it in that moment when you're not ready for it.
Mm,
Difference between deserving it and not being ready for it. You're just
yeah.
not ready for it. But if you're trying to push yourself to get it when you're
That's it
not
right there.
ready,
That's what I was trying to say.
then you're going to end up connecting and forcing yourself to be with somebody who you're not meant to be with,
Hmm.
someone who doesn't lift you up, someone who doesn't push you forward. And that's where you start transitioning your life, and that's also where you start going backwards because you start going back to where you're being someone you're not,
Mm,
whether you see it there and seeing it not. But I'm glad that you saw that because it's such an important
hmm.
lesson in life that I've learned myself. It's just it first starts with you and
Yeah,
being okay with just you and who you are.
absolutely.
As long as you love yourself for who you are, it's going to show. And the right person love romantically is going to see that and they're going to be drawn to it, and that's going to be the person that you're meant to be in love with.
Yeah.
Just like you said, when you stop looking at it that way and people start gravitating towards you, it's because you stopped putting that expectation on yourself that you need to figure it out then. It's so important. It's also so healing too.
Yeah.
It just takes so much weight off your shoulder.
Yeah.
But that's a process to get there.
It is. It is.
It's very important. So when you were just dropping nuggets left and right when you were saying that's all I heard.
Yeah, but it's like back to the roots topic. Growing up, my grandmother was single. My mom was single for throughout bits and pieces, of my life. But I just I didn't experience at home two people that love each other and what that looks like.
I think that's why a lot of people end up trying to force, like, they need to find love is because they didn't experience it.
Yeah.
Where they needed to experience it.
Yeah.
So then they force it.
They force it. But they never study it. Because though I didn't have all the tools I needed at home, those tools are still out there. And you can find those tools just by seeking it out, and like that applies to so much. Sorry, my brain is just like boom, it's going crazy because all the things we need that we don't get at home, you can get it somewhere else. But you have to be a person that's open to saying, okay, I'm not going to be the victim and say, oh, well, I didn't learn that. Like, for instance, one example, people that say, oh, like my mom never taught me how to cook, so I don't know how to cook. How long do you want to live your life not know how to cook?
Sometimes you just got to figure it out yourself.
Sometimes you just got to figure out yourself. Go on YouTube, find a dish that you want to make or something you want to learn, watch that lady or that gentleman make the dish and do it side by side, you know? And it's just like there's so many tools out there, there's so many resources out there that we can learn from. There's books you can read about love, like real love, like instead of chasing what you think love is and keep getting hurt or how do I keep dating the same people over and over again? This person was supposed to love me. This was different. This person had a job. This person this. But it's like, at the end of the day, it was the same person. Someone that neglected me. And that's what I keep experiencing in all my past relationships is neglection. And I keep giving these people all of me and all of my time and all of my energy. And I keep being left with neglected.
You know what that is? A couple years ago, I learned that's the exact definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting different results.
Expecting different results. Yeah. Yeah, people are insane out there. God bless them. But, that is just, those are the things that what's made me resilient. My therapist told me, she said, you're resilient because you look at the things that happen in your life, good and bad, and you find a way to make your life good out of them. And that I never knew the definition of resilience until 20 was that 2020? Yeah, it was 2020 when I went to therapy for the first time, and she told me that I'm resilient. And just that hour of just me just telling her why I was there, what I was struggling with, how I got here, and I even talked about how I'm gonna get past it. She said, "What? You just solved the whole thing. Like you didn't even need me." But I needed someone to hear me. I needed someone to listen to me. I needed someone I could talk to that didn't know me. And whatever I say in that room, that's between me and Dr. Green. And she gonna go tell her husband or not. And I'm gonna go live my life and we're never gonna see each other again. Outside, at least. And that was like that was the first time I was able to just talk and say the real stuff, the real dirt, the real issues, And again, I was able to talk myself into the solution, and that was healing and powerful. And so the resilient part is just being able to take those things throughout life experiences and become the victor and not the victim.
About why it's happening for you and not to you.
Amen. Why this is going to work out for my good. Why, yeah, we're human. We're going to hit those moments where it just, it is bad,
Mm-hmm.
or it is difficult, or it is challenging, or it is hurtful, or what they did is wrong
That's going to happen our entire life.
forever. The seasons changed. I don't like this dark night at 5 p.m. Like, I feel like I'm supposed to be asleep right now. It's 5 p.m. There's so much more to do, But that's a part of life is things come in seasons, and we have to find ways to survive and thrive throughout the changes of the seasons. And
Yeah.
so, that's a little bit of my roots. It's a little bit of, you know, where I come from to where I am now and where I'm heading. Um,
I think that's an important reason why we're also here today.
mhm.
Not just us, but I feel like just everybody, you know, everyone goes through things. Some people they just want to feel related. They want to feel related to.
Yeah.
We have people who are listening to our conversation that
Yeah.
may not be at the point where they want to talk about it. They want to talk about it with somebody who doesn't know them.
Hmm.
They could be talking to the screen as we're talking, like they're part of the they're a part of the
Yeah,
conversation.
you're part of the conversation.
Um, but that's why also why we're sitting here is that's exactly what we want to do is
Yeah.
allow people to overcome that and change that perspective. And a lot of us sitting here talking, I feel like talking back on our roots
Yeah.
really shows that. Because I mean, when I was writing my book and things like that, and I started my notebook and stuff, I wanted to talk to somebody who didn't know me.
Hmm.
I feel like everyone who's going through things wants that. Not everyone can write and feel the same
Yeah.
emotion. It looks different to everybody. Some
Yeah.
people listening to a podcast,
Hmm.
watching videos, that's how they feel it. That's why I think really feeling saucy really started.
Yeah.
Because we had the same vision and
Hmm.
we wanted to make the same impact.
Yeah. And we're doing it. We're, we're,
Right.
we're doing it right now. And that's something that is encouraging me as I continue to look at my goals. Like, you want to buy a house, you know? And, I do too. I want to buy a house,
We're going to buy a house.
We're going to buy houses.
Yeah.
And more than just one. I have some ideas. I want to bless people. I want to help people. And so I want to buy something that I could turn into something. But it's just like those things. It's like we're doing the things that we want to do. We're doing the things that we hope to do. We're doing the things that we dream to do. And that was the hardest thing for me, especially with this. It was just like just pushing play and just doing it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's got to be right. It's got to look like this. It's got to be,
And that's a lot of it right there. Is the hardest step
hmm
that a lot of people kind of presents to people is just starting it. That's the biggest step right there. Once you start it, why stop? You already started.
Oh, absolutely.
You might as well just go through it. That's what's going to ultimately grow you into a bigger and better person.
Yes.
So, and it's going to
100%.
teach you to take control of your emotions rather than it happening to you, or rather than your emotions leading you, you're controlling your emotions. Rather than your mind leading you, your heart leads you.
Yes.
Rather than being rather than sitting there and being a victim, becoming a victor. That's where all those start. Just taking that one leap of faith in the direction you want to go, and being okay with not knowing how it looks, but it's gonna play out. That's your life. It's who you are. Don't compare yourself to somebody else. Don't think your success is gonna be because of money.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of us is made to make a bunch of money,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean you're not going to be successful.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people who make money, I don't look at it successful because they still don't know. They're still lost in who they are because they lose themselves in money.
Mm-hmm.
They're in love with money.
Yeah.
They don't use money as a tool. Money is a tool.
It is a tool.
It's not a relationship.
Exactly. Oof. My God. That was some fire right there, bro. I don't know if you had some spicy Doritos or something, but it's just coming out your mouth.
Yeah, you know. I think it's just so important. But
yeah,
life is very precious.
mm-hmm.
It's a very precious thing, and what you're gonna get out of life is what you put into life.
Mm-hmm.
And the only person that can put into life is you.
It's you.
And really, you just gotta put into your own life and let everything else fall into place.
Yeah. Trust the process. Trust the process.
And that's part of also a healing, developing, because you heal on the way too.
You heal on the way.
Each day, we're gonna be struggling. We're gonna
heal on the way.
We're gonna come into walls.
Yes.
We're gonna run into walls. We're gonna sprint into walls.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen within the next few months with me. It's gonna happen to everybody throughout our lifetime until the moment we're laid into the ground. It's gonna happen. But it's starting to come to that realization, that focus, to where like, okay, I've been here before. It looks different, but I felt these emotions. This experience of emotions I'm feeling right now is emotions I felt when I was back here. Man, if I had sauces right now,
I know.
But it's not like, what did I do back here?
Yeah.
To push myself forward. But what can I take from that lesson and apply it to this certain lesson while tweaking it a little bit, so then I can move forward to the next step. Because the same thing that got you past that is not going to get you past that. You're still in the same emotion, but doing the same thing isn't, because you're a bigger and better person, and you're further along your journey of who you are at this point of your life versus being in this point of your life. That's why it's also important to go back, remember where you came from, because that's a lot of where it starts. Because where you came from, the experiences you were as a kid, is what you brought into your young adult, or as a kid into your teenager, and then from your teenager lessons that you learned, you go into a young adult, and then from a young adult, then being a full adult, and then so on. You're taking lessons from their previous. That's why when people lose themselves, it's because they lost where they came from. Because they're trying to be someone who they're not. And it's the difference between allowing where you came from to weigh you down, rather than using it as a tool to push yourself forward.
Exactly.
At the moment you forgot where you came from, then you lost yourself completely.
Yeah.
You just don't know who you are.
Yep.
But you also can't allow it to control your emotions. So it's about taking control. That's the difference between taking control.
Yeah. Oof, that's fire. And it's like it's so interesting too, because I've seen.
How are we doing on time, by the way?
We are doing good. It's almost at that hour.
All right.
I'm gonna say this last thought and then we can close. But people get to a point, and I've also speaking to myself because I've seen myself do this. Get to a point where you've found yourself, or you feel like you found yourself, and so you're living that out, and then you somehow lose yourself along the way. Someone comes into your life, or something comes into your life, or things change, and you just end up in a spot where you're like, how did I get here? You know, it's okay to restart, and it's okay to, you know, sometimes you got to cut your hair and just start fresh. It's okay to just restart as many times as you can, but start over. Be intentional about getting up and trying again, and giving yourself grace, and knowing that this life is not for the perfect. It can we can perfect our life daily just by doing things that just make sense, And I just I don't know, I just feel that so deeply, because I mean I've seen so many people just be on a path and then they just not on that path anymore. And then it's just like that, it's kind of just trumps everything for them. But it's like, no, like you gotta just realize that like whatever it is that got you to where you are lost, find your way back. Find your way back. Start over again. And maybe what you were trying to pursue or trying to do, that's not what is the best for you. And so that's why it's not working. So try something new. I don't know what that is. I don't know who that's for, but it just is on me and I had to say it. Now, as we conclude, um, I think this was a really good part one and part two
Mm-hmm.
of us sharing our roots, sharing kind of a little bit more of like who we are,
Mm-hmm.
where we come from, experiences we had, so that way you guys, our friends, kind of just get a taste of like who DeAndre and Timon is, and understand a little bit more of the why what we're doing and why it's so important for us to do this. Feeling saucy is a cool name. Thank you guys for giving us feedback. Let us know you like the name of the podcast. But really, what we're trying to do is we're trying to leave you guys feeling something, feeling better, higher perspectives, feeling like there's people that can relate to you. Um, People that you can see and say, oh, I know DeAndre, I know Timon, and you can connect with us. But also, we can connect with you because we're all human and we're all doing this life thing together, and there is no instructions. Like we're figuring it out every single day, and that's why I need my brother to do life with, to talk to process thoughts with, because I ain't got it all together, and
None of us got it
none
all
of us
together.
has it all together. But when we come together, we build something and we figure it out, and we overcome and we accomplish, and we Rome wasn't built in a day. It took a lot of people working together to build that beautiful, amazing dynasty. So um, just have faith.
Yeah. Keep,
Have faith.
just keeping your head up, pushing forward,
Hmm.
being patient with yourself is a very
Yeah,
key part. It's just allowing yourself to be true to where you're at,
yeah,
and then just moving forward and just know that it's not going to change in a day.
yeah.
It's going to be a journey.
It's a
It's going to be
journey.
it's always a tough journey,
Hmm.
but it's worth it. It really is. And
Yeah,
I'm just glad that we kind of get to
to share
pour
that.
into each other, and
Yeah.
hopefully people can take stuff from
Hmm.
our experiences and realize that people who feel alone, they feel like they're not alone, or
Yeah.
you can relate to people who had
Hmm.
similar growing up as you,
Yeah.
who had similar growing up as me.
Yeah.
Just we just
Hey.
I'm lost in words really, but just we just gotta
Yeah.
be a victory of our life. Really,
Hmm.
at the end of the day, it's about all of us going through life together, but also being a victor of our own life at the same time, and knowing that in order to be a victor of your own life, a victor of your own life isn't walking by yourself.
A victor of your own life. I like that, bro. That's beautiful. And also, I have to say this, and then we're gonna cut.
All right.
Show up as yourself. Show up as yourself. I'm saying this because I'm doing this and I'm experiencing the best of my life right now. People come up to me, they see me from just across the room, and they just are just drawn to me. And I'm feeling so much more purity in my soul because Timon is here. And it's hard, and that's why I talked about it, because even sharing this, it's still something that's it's difficult. It's difficult because every day I have to make that choice. I'm going to show up as Timon. Whether I'm up, great. If I'm down, still great. But I'm showing up as me. You're going to get me every time. And so there's, I
The
yeah,
changes start.
yeah, that's where the change start.
Where
just
you
be yourself, show up as who you are. I can't stress this enough. Please believe in yourself. If you don't believe in anything else, believe in yourself. Believe that you have everything inside of you to make your life great, to change your life, to be anything that you want to be, honestly. But it starts with that mindset, that belief system. So believe in yourself, bank on yourself, and
you're
you'll
gonna
feel
accomplish it,
saucy.
and you're gonna do it feeling
You
saucy,
gonna feel
and you're just
saucy.
gonna, before you know it, you're gonna be just conquering the world.
Yes. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Feeling Saucy with DeAndre and Tamo. Cheers, brother. Episode 3.
Cheers.
Hey, love doing life with you. All right, thank you. Let's cut. And